Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mr. Archive, and in today's video we're going to be tackling a question I get asked a lot on my Whatnot streams and in socials. Should I grade my comic book? Now hopefully by the end of this video I would have provided you with enough information to help you make that decision and hopefully save yourself some money in the process. So for anybody new here, comic book grading is simply the process of evaluating the condition of a comic book and assigning it either a numerical grade or a descriptive grade. Now the lowest grade you can be assigned numerically is 0.5, which would equal poor descriptively, or the highest you can be assigned is a 10, which would be descriptively known as gem mint. Now the Certified Guaranteed Company, also known for short as CGC, are the gold standard, as you would want to call it. They grade your comic book, encapsulate it in a tamper-proof case along with a label which lists the grade, key details about the comic book, and any other relevant notes relevant to the comic book. So when it comes to comic book grading, guys, there are so many reasons as to why we all want to send our comic books in to be graded, but I've decided to choose 5 of the most common reasons that I feel that most collectors want to send their book in for. So the first one is going to be because you want to increase the investment value of the book that you have in your collection. Now for us collectors, a lot of the time we're out hunting books in as high grade as possibly can with the hopes that it's going to hit a 9.8, and if it does, hopefully that could increase the value of your investment by 2 or maybe even 3 times depending on what the book is. All right, so that's generally the number one reason. The second reason is because you want to preserve the book. You want to keep the book in the most pristine condition as possible that you have found it in. You want to make sure that the book isn't going to get any more damage, and by having it encapsulated, that minimizes that risk of happening as well. All right. The third reason is going to be because you want to authenticate the book. You want to make sure that the book is what it is. You also want to make sure that the book hasn't been restored in any way as well. And that's where third-party services can come in handy. So they'll look for things like color touch, if the book has been trimmed, and they'll flag all of these things, and then when assigning the grade they'll note these things to you as well. So sometimes as collectors, trying to spot these restoration techniques are very, very difficult, and this is where third-party service can come in very, very handy. All right, the next one would be because you want to be sure of what it is that you're buying. So as a buyer, you know, if you go out and you're looking for a certain book, you know that if you're looking for it in a 9.8 and you buy it as a 9.8, you know, you can feel confident in knowing that that is what you're buying, right? And the same kind of applies from a seller's point of view. You know, it kind of gives your buyers reassurance that what you are selling is exactly what it is, right? And lastly, for most people, it is an aesthetic thing, right? I think some people just like to grade comic books because they like the cover and they want it to be in a holder with a special label. You know, some people just like books to be slabbed and they like to, you know, put them on their wall for display or things like that. And so that's another justified reason as well. However, there are reasons as to why you shouldn't grade. And this is all to do with how much money you're putting into the hobby. All right, so guys, there are many reasons as to why you shouldn't grade, but I've picked a couple of reasons as to why I think you shouldn't grade a comic book, or what you should consider before you're sending a book in. All right, so the first thing is that grading costs money. All right, we all know that grading is very expensive. Depending on how many books you send, it can get really expensive. Okay, now on average, sending a book into CGC can cost anywhere between £40 to £50. All right, and we're talking about, you know, just the evaluation of the book and the shipping to and from CGC and back to you. Okay, let's not even talk about the addition of cleaning and pressing on top of that as well, right? So if you were to buy a book for £20, let's say for example, and you add and factor in all of those costs into that, and then the book isn't even worth everything you've put into it once it comes back at even a 9.8, you know, you've lost a significant amount of money. All right, so that's something to kind of always bear in mind before you even consider sending a book in to be graded. All right, the other thing is as well is that condition matters. Okay, now you are sending in your book to be assessed for its condition, and so, you know, buying a book that is a wet rag for 10 quid and hoping that when you send it in and it becomes slab that it's going to be worth thousands of pounds. You know, you've got to consider A, what the book is first of all, and B, the condition of it when you're sending it in, all right? Otherwise you're going to waste a lot of money. And the other reason as well is to not grade is sentimental reasons. Now, I know a lot of us have collections from when we were children, and you know, some of these books are very personal to us, all right? But not all of those books are significant enough to be worthy enough of being graded. And so a lot of the times it's just better to keep the book in a nice bag and board, a Mylar bag, double backboard, and just keep it nice, boxed up in your collection. It will save you a lot of money, all right? Now, a few things before you submit your books to CGC that you need to be aware of, or any third-party grading service for that matter, okay? You need to look at the grade values first, all right? You need to look at what the value of the book is at the grade that you're hoping that it's going to come back in, all right? So using analytical tools like GPA analysis, Go Collect, or even eBay last sales and Key Collector can be very, very useful, okay? The second thing is that you need to learn what books are. Now, when I say this, I mean, you know, key issues or books of significance, all right? So sometimes not all books are key issues, but they can be very valuable, right? So Hulk 340 is an example, Batman 423, the iconic, both are iconic Todd McFarlane covers, or even Batman 227, right? Neil Adams classic Batman cover. So, you know, not all books have to be keys to be graded. Some of them can be iconic covers, but apps like Key Collector are very useful in helping to learn what key books are or what significant books are, right? And those are the types of books that you should be looking for when in terms of, you know, trying to send a book in to be graded. The most important thing, I think, and you know, I've spoken about condition a lot in this video, is understanding how to grade. Now, grading is the most crucial part of this whole process, right? Because before you even send a book to be evaluated by CGC, you're already trying to determine what the grade of that book is before you even send it in. And so understanding how to grade and what to look for is crucial in this process, all right? So my recommendation is, you know, getting a book such as the CGC Guide to Grading written by Matt Nelson, which I'll link below in the description. And this can be a very useful tool because it will help you to understand what things you should be looking for in certain grades in order to define what your book actually is before you even send it into CGC, okay? And the other thing, and I think the most important thing here is because we've spoken about value and we've spoken about money a lot here and how much this can all cost. You need to do the maths behind this all, okay? So you need to look at the fact of A, what you've paid for the book in its raw condition, ungraded condition. B, all of the costs involved when you're going to send it to be graded. So we're talking about cleaning and pressing, which you should always do before you send a book in to be graded, whether you use CGC service or an independent cleaner or presser. And also, you know, the shipping costs involved with it as well, right? So you kind of need to take all of these costs into consideration and then also take into the fact of what the value of the book is in the grade that you're hoping it will be, right? And then you deduct all of these costs to see whether or not it's worth it or not, right? And at the end of the day, if it's not worth it, it's not worth it. Do you get what I mean? You just kind of have to take that into consideration because otherwise you could end up, you know, digging yourself into a bit of a hole that you don't want to dig yourself into, all right? If you're thinking about submitting to any third-party grading service, my recommendation would be that you stick with CGC, all right? They have the strongest resale value at the moment in the marketplace, and I know that there are other services that are popping up, such as PSA, and there is CBCS as well. But just remember, most importantly, when it comes to grading, just to take your time with it. You know, take your time to learn how to grade books. Take your time to understand the value of certain books when they are graded at certain grades. And, you know, do your homework, literally. And just do what makes sense, you know? So yeah, anyways, if you found this video helpful, do make sure you like, comment and subscribe. It's a video that a lot of you have been asking for, and so I hope this has been insightful and it's helped to allow you to make a better decision about grading and whether or not it's worth it in the long run for you. All right, but I hope you enjoyed this video, found it very informative, and do make sure to give me a follow on Whatnot. I'm doing shows there weekly, and if you sign up to Whatnot for the very first time, you'll get £10 or $15 off your first purchase on the platform. And also make sure you are following me on Instagram and on TikTok as well, for more insightful stuff about collecting as well. All right, but also as well, I mentioned about the evaluation tool. So if you have not yet subscribed to Go Collect, if you use the link in my description down below, you can save yourself some money off your first month, which I believe will be $9 off your first month subscription with them. All right, which will be a great useful tool in what we've discussed in this video today. All right, but thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.